Pro Bricky exclusive YouTube channel with Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, otherwise known as Pro Bricky. And we're going to do a response video on advice for families of addicts with put the shovel down. Let's see how we go. If you haven't already, subscribe, ring the bell. If you like the video, press like and comment and share.
Having a loved one with a drug or alcohol problem is seriously like being held hostage. You're controlled by fear, but motivated by resentment and frustration. And the very first step to taking your control back is to stop making emotional decisions and to start making strategic, logical decisions. Which is why in this video, I'm going to explain to you the 3 main approaches for solving this problem. I'm Amber Hollingsworth, Master Addiction Counselor, and if you're sick and tired of being held hostage, subscribe to this channel, and I'll make sure you're always 5 steps ahead of addiction.
This woman's brilliant. She's straight to the point. She's firm. She's fair. And she does get, man, this lady's helped people all across the world. She's really good.
So the way I see it, you have about 3 options as to how you can handle dealing with an addicted loved one. Option number 1, you can detach with love. This is the sort of back up, save yourself, there's nothing you can do, you're powerless. It's the Al-Anon type approach. And sometimes when you're just drowning in the nightmare of addiction, that's all you can do. And it is helpful to back up and take care of yourself. And when you do that, it does increase the chances that your loved one will also do the same. The pros to using this approach would be, it's been around for a long time. There are 12-step Al-Anon meetings all over the whole world, everywhere. They're fairly easy to access, and you can even access them online if you can't get to a meeting. And they don't cost anything. And there is some research to show that this method is effective. But the problem, the cons of the Al-Anon approach, is that it's pretty much reliant on waiting for this person that has this brain disease to wake up and figure out that they've got a problem and they want to get better.
The problem with it, yeah, 100%. And what happens is the people that try this method of just going quiet and stepping back, years can go by and nothing happen. Years can go by. And it's just can be a complete waste of time because you're dependent on the function or dysfunction of the addict. And most of the time they're just not going to cooperate via silence. You need to confront the issue. Yeah, I had a relationship where the mother of the adult men was trying this, and it just 9 months later, it was still no resolve. I ended up pulling the pin in the end. Nobody was changing anything for no one.
And most of the families that I see have a really hard time doing that because this is your spouse, this is your kid, and you're trying to back up and detach with love, but you just can't maintain it. It's difficult because you love that person. And hey, when they're destroying their life, they're destroying your life too. So you have some feelings about that. Hey, it's easy to say focus on yourself, but not so easy to do when you're actually in that situation. So here's your number 2 option if you don't like that one. Your number 2 option is you can confront it and use what I call the tough love approach. Now the tough love approach is all about setting the boundaries, drawing the hard line in the sand, kicking them out, not giving them any money, don't enable no matter what you do, put your foot down. Now the benefits to using this approach is it does go a long way for preserving the rest of the family. Sometimes it is seriously like if you had gangrene in your leg and it was like rotting, you might have to amputate your leg to save the rest of you. That's kind of what tough love approach.
I can see that. It's killing the parasites with the parasite poison.
Approach is. It's like back up, put a tourniquet on it, and try to save what you can. It's all about putting those boundaries down. Now the problem with the tough love approach is that it doesn't necessarily make the other person get better. I know people think, oh, if you're tough love, they'll hit their bottom, they'll get better. Well, I'm here to tell you that addicts and alcoholics, they keep using and drinking despite consequences. That's what it means. So just being tough, that's not going to quite do it either. And in addition to that, like if this is your kid, like putting your kid on the street is the most unnatural thing a parent can do. And it is literally like ripping your heart out of your chest and throwing it away. And you might even be being told that that's what you have to do or need to do. But that is such a difficult solution. It doesn't fix them and it doesn't fix you. So
Interesting what the third one is. I've got 5 kids, 3 of which have lived at my house, and 3 of which have been kicked out several times due to attitude or not paying rent or whatever. Nothing to do with drugs, right? I don't know what the big, oh, you can't kick the drug addict out. If one of them brought drugs into my house, they'd be straight out. I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less. You're not bringing drugs. I'll call the coppers. I'll even call the police. There you go. You've got standards that you haven't. And in a way, you can dance around with these people, but no, not happening.
third approach that I want to tell
This
you
will be
about is
interesting.
something that not as many people know about. It's called the CRAFT method, C-R-A-F-T. That's community reinforcement and family training. And that's what we do here at Hope for Families. We help families. A lot of times, it's not the addict or alcoholic that calls us. It's the mom or the wife or the husband or the parent. It is someone close to the person that has a drug or alcohol problem. And sometimes when they call us, they say, hey, I'm looking for help for my kid, my spouse, and they're ready to come in, and we can go at it and we can treat both sides of that at the same time, and that is the optimal situation. But other times we have family members that call us and they say, hey, I've got a loved one, I've got this problem, I don't know what to do, they're in denial or they refuse to get help, like, is there anything you can do? And in a situation like that, we walk the family through a step-by-step process on how to get their loved one to accept help, on how to get them to realize that it is a problem. Now, the benefits to using the CRAFT approach is that it is statistically way more likely to be an effective method for you. In fact, it is more than twice as effective as either of those other two options that we talked about. But there's no perfect choice when you're in this really sucky situation. There are cons to going this route. And the most difficult thing about using this approach is accessing it. You see, the CRAFT model is much less known about. There's way less people out there trained in it or that practice it, and so it's a little more difficult to access help using that model. And in general, to pull this off, you're probably going to need a little coaching, and that means you might need to get some professional help to actually work through the steps of this process.
Guys, if honestly, in all honesty, a lot of these addicts have been in and out of fucking therapy and Christ knows what. A lot of them have come off one drug to just settle for another. Yeah, sure, these people are into it. I'd love to know the success rate. I bet you it's not what you think. And why should you get caught up? Well, it depends, I guess, how much you love the person. A lot of these parents will just feed them the drugs just to shut them up. I think, at the end of the day, you got a life to get on with. They've got a life to get on with. If they're adults, go and take your life where it should be. If you can't make a life for yourself, end up where you're supposed to, and that's possibly in a fucking refuge.
But even though this method really works, I'm not going to lie to you, it ain't easy, people. It involves a lot of willpower and discipline and strategy and decision making on your part.
Shouldn't it be on the addict's part? Why should a person that's lived their life to the book as well as they can, as a decent person in the community, have to start shuffling their life around to suit an addict getting off drugs with a percentage rate of I think it's bloody 25% that usually an addict won't get off drugs unless they've lost a limb, they're going through extraordinary pain, and the circumstances have taken them to about as far as they can go to the bottom without dying. Then when they turn around, you're going to get results. I wouldn't meander to an addict.
Now, if you'd like to look more into the craft method, I have some videos on my channel specifically about that. And there's a really good book that you can get right from Amazon. It's called Beyond Addiction, and I'll put the link to that and other resources in the description below in case you'd like to pursue or learn more about that option. But hey, there's nothing wrong with any of those three options. And sometimes you need a little of this and a little of that, and that's why family recovery is all about strategy based on your specific situation. You've got to really look at the situation and factors and people involved to make the best choice for you and your family. Now,
Guys, there's a lot of people that meander around these addicts, and it can go on for years and years and years. By the end of it, they've lost their relationships, they've lost their money, they've lost their property. A lot of them end up with nothing anyway because the drugs and alcohol take away any resilience and fortitude to build and accumulate the real things that matter in life. And by the end of it, everybody's just sitting there. They're in covert emotional incest. They're divided. One minute they're close, the next minute they're divided. Nobody's got any money, or they're relying on the parent as the supplier. And at the end of it, nobody ends up with anything. The person themselves, the addict themselves, has to find the way out of their problem. And good luck to all these people that are trying to help. And I'm sure there are some success stories, but ultimately it comes down to the person themselves. You're Reverend Dr. Jason W. Morrison, theologist, on the ProBrick exclusive YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me. I'll put the link to this lady's video below. Bye for now.